Alright, how's it going, guys? Steve again, Interglobal Comics. So we're going to do kind of a part 2 of looking through the Heritage auction, going, sorted by most active. So most of these we already kind of looked at. Obviously some of the ordering probably has changed since the last video I made. So we'll just kind of scroll through here. I think I made it down right around past that one. I'd say we're probably right around this Action Comics 242. So, this is a 5.0 from Brazil, printed in 1966. So pretty, 5.0, it's not, I wouldn't say that's high grade, but I'd say that's like mid upper grade. Anything above 6, I would say would be high grade for Silver Age Brazilian. Pretty book, nice purple color. This one's got some stains going on it and some other issues. The paper on this book is almost kind of like, the cover is like almost like a cardboard. So it's kind of thick. But a good looking book. I'm not really sure. I've seen some, like, I think there was a 7.0 copy that sold maybe a couple years ago, and that one's sold for, I think, $2,000 around there, maybe more, $3,000 on eBay. But that was kind of before the prices went crazy. So I'm not really sure what this will sell for. I know there's, this is kind of like one of the Superman grails, so could fetch a pretty decent price. After that, we've got a 9.9 Turkish. This was printed just last year, so hopefully the people, if they're not too familiar with foreign comics, realize that there are modern prints of these books that are still getting pumped out. The Turkey and Mexico and a couple other countries are still, some of them have reprinted these covers. Well, not really Turkey, but like Mexico has reprinted some of these covers several times. Turkey, most of these are, they're kind of just like going through all the big key covers and making their own like Turkish versions of them. Which is cool. And 9.9, it's obviously a great grade. But the majority is, this is a less than a year old comic. So the majority of these are going to be, 9.6, 9.8, so 9.9 definitely will probably command a premium, but it's, I don't think it's going to go too crazy, I wouldn't think. I think I talked about that one in the last video. We've got the Spider-Man 5, kind of like the first meetup of Spider-Man and Dr. Doom. Pretty classic cover, and 8.5 for a book this age is pretty amazing. So this is the first Dr. Doom appearance outside of the Fantastic Four. 8.5 for a Brazilian book from 1969. That's pretty unheard of. So I could see this book, commanding a premium. I had one of these, but mine was like really in bad shape. So that's a cool book, and Dr. Doom is obviously at some point going to be coming to the MCU sooner than later. So we'll I think he's seems to be a very popular character amongst collectors. So we'll see see where that book goes. And not the American version's already it's crazy expensive. So some people, if the American version gets too expensive, foreign's the next best place to go. So we got Fantastic 448, kind of for this, it's a mid-grade copy. I'm surprised it got that grade with kind of that tear on the cover, but the rest of it, looks nice condition. This is I don't think CGC, let's look at the label. I don't think CGC denotes that this is okay, yeah, it does. So that's pretty interesting. I've never looked at the new labels for this. So it says reprints Fantastic 448 story from Hit Comics number 8. So that's really cool since this is the second print of this book. I think the hit comic came out in like 66, and that was like the all red one. And CGC's getting their act together. These labels are getting way more accurate. I never thought I would see, them talking about a German book reprinting another German book, but they are, so that's pretty cool. I'm not sure why I'll have to stop zooming in on the pictures because it keeps taking me all the way back to the top. Alright, here we go. Back on track. Alright, I'm not going to zoom in. I'm not going to click on the pictures anymore. We'll just work off the main page because that's screwing it up for whatever reason. Alright, so then next we've got a Cyclone El Super Hombre, which is basically like it was Superman in Spain. So it's printed in 1940, and these were I guess they collected like the news, comic strips that were printed in newspapers and kind of printed those stories in like a sideways format comic. Some of these have pretty cool covers. This is the issue 1, so this one, you could find a decent deal on these still on the Spanish marketplace, and they do pop up from time to time. I think recently there was a guy that had every issue for sale for $1,000, which it's a lot of money. But if this 2.0 is already at $200, there's a room there to if you wanted to grade them and flip them. And depending on how this auction goes, it might be a worthwhile investment. And then some just randomly show up for cheap. I think some pop up for $30, $40, $50. So they did make facsimiles of these, so you got to be careful of that. You don't want to end up with a facsimile when you think you're getting the original. I was pretty interested to see these popping up. This is Avengers 1 from Brazil, Block Publishing. I don't want to click on it because it's going to screw up the whole. For whatever reason, it's not reloading the search page, but these did have I believe these had a poster, a centerfold poster that majority of them don't have anymore. So I'm not sure if CGC recognizes that or they realize, that these were supposed to have a poster. But this is a 6.0, which is pretty decent grade for this book. This is from 1975, so it's not terribly old. These were kind of like the second wave of Marvel Comics after the E-Ball comics. But these are really cool because of the change in colors they do, the color variations. They're smaller format, but they have really cool, crazy color changes on the covers. So definitely a fun book, and they're not super prevalent either. So they're not easy to find. What is this? A Swedish Batman book with Catwoman on the cover. I think I talked about this one last time. More of these Golden Age Brazilian. So 1.8 restored. Cool cover. Statue of Liberty and Namor and Human Torch. Kind of interesting to see a signed modern. What is this? The Mexican Legion of Superheroes. This one they didn't give it the American name, though. They just called it Superman 43. And it is signed by Adam Hughes. Beautiful cover, 9.8. It's not typically easy to get out of Mexico. But it'll be interesting to see how a modern book does in this auction. I wouldn't have recommended people to send too many modern books in. I think most people that are searching this auction are probably more interested in the older stuff, but who knows? You just never know. So we'll kind of keep an eye on these more modern books. Blue Label, another Golden Age Brazilian book from 1950, 3.5 Captain America Bucky cover. So this is another Batman 181. So I guess Heritage is just putting whatever's on the label, because think I showed one of these in the last video, and it was labeled by CGC, so it said Batman 181 Brazilian edition. But CBCS doesn't grade their book like they don't label their books like that. They use the native numbering and the native name. So this in Brazil was Batman 79, printed in 1968. So 5.5. It's a still a decent copy. Not as nice as I think the other one was the 7.0, but still I think is going to go for decent money. I'm kind of surprised. I would have thought that Heritage would have probably not have double listed these books, like just done one of each in the auction, sold the 5.5 and then sold the 7.0 in a different auction. But they must have gotten a number of duplicate submissions, so I guess they're just putting them in there. So this is a Daredevil 1 from the Netherlands. This book has kind of always cracked me up. Just Durfel just sounds funny. But that's Daredevil from the Netherlands. Kind of a weird orange color, but 6.0. These have like a cardstock cover, so they tend to be kind of hard to, if it's not in good condition, you're not going to really be able to press it and make it look better, or at least not by much. And it's a square bound, and I believe it has that front cover on both sides. I can't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure it's like a double cover front and back. This is another Golden Age Brazilian. I think I remember Josh talking about this one. I think it has inside the interior has the first appearance of Lex Luthor. So we've got a Brazilian edition of Action Comics 252. I always get 242 and 252 mixed up. First appearance of Supergirl. This is actually surprisingly extremely hard book to get. I recently got a copy, and I had been looking for one for better part of 4 years. Finally got one. So I'm not sure if the people that are bidding on these auctions realize the rarity of some of these books. But even in Brazil, there's some books that are more prevalent than others, and for some reason this one just didn't. There don't seem to be that many copies of it. But 4.5, that's pretty decent copy of this book for being from 1961. It's pretty early, early 60s. I haven't seen too many or any really high grade versions of this book. So this is Stalin Manin 1, which is Superman 1, the Swedish edition. I remember one of these selling for a pretty high amount on eBay, but the problem was that I don't think people realize that Superman, I think every year that they had a Superman issue, at the start of the new year, it became issue number 1 again. I think that's what I remember someone saying. So even though this was an issue 1, it's not Superman 1, because there's a Superman 1 every year. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I remember someone in the foreign comic group posting or saying about it. I really don't. I don't think I have any. I had one Swedish, Golden Age book, Superman book, but I ended up selling it. And actually, I think that guy that bought it from me, it slabbed it and put it in the Heritage auction. So that'll be interesting to see what that does, because I think I sold it to him for like $50. But no matter then, I'm the one that set the price. So even if it gets $400, $500, I don't care. It's just cool to see a book that I once owned in the auction. So this is a Spawn 5, the Angela cover, like the German embossed version. These always sell pretty good on eBay when they pop up, so we'll see how it does on Heritage. 9.8. What is this? The Finnish ASM 129. So yeah, this is gonna kind of maybe throw some people for a loop. How some of these slabs were old style slabs by CGC, so no one's gonna be searching for Hamaki Amiesti Jahaja. When they're looking in the Heritage auction, or I don't know how you pronounce that. So hopefully it would be probably a good idea if Heritage would kind of like cross-reference the names to kind of how CGC does it now, where it has the U.S. equivalent. But at this point, it's too late. Yeah, so it's a cool book, hard to get. These were like a mail away. Like for like Finnish subscribers had a mail away to get this issue, and it's not old. It's from 1994, and they tend to be in pretty good condition, pretty high grade. There was a guy that was selling these for years. Supposedly he had like a warehouse find, and he just pieced them out. He started selling them, I think, at like $30-$40, and then as time went on, he increased the price, and I think he still sells them on eBay for about $300 now. So let's see what else. So this is, I think I talked about this one last time, or no, that was actually in I think a Market Report video. This is the first meetup of Batman and Superman, or when they learn each other's secret identities. So it's the Swedish edition from 1952. Cool book. I've never really seen this one before. But see, this kind of confuses me, because this is 1976, from the same year as the Superman 1 that we saw earlier. So I don't know how they did the numbering in Sweden. It's confusing to me. So maybe one of the Scandinavian guys, or if there's a Swedish guy, they can set the record straight, because I'm not sure how they did it. All right, so we've got a Spider-Man 15, first appearance at Craven from Brazil, 7.0, so it's a pretty nice copy. These E-Ball, that was one of my goals, like I think a year or two ago, was to collect kind of like all the Spider-Man villain first appearances from Brazil, and I pretty much, I think, got the majority of them, at least like the early ones that I wanted, like Mysterio, Craven, Dr. Octopus, Lizard. So these are fun books. It'll be interesting to see where they go in auction, especially like this is 7.0, that's high grade. And these are just kind of classic Spider-Man books that I think any ASM collector would want. This is like some Indonesian original art. Another Eerie. This is Eerie number 2 from England. Don't know much about it. All right, so we've got the Indonesian Star Wars 3. This in my opinion is kind of like the ugliest of the covers that they put out, but still a cool book, and very, very hard to find these Indonesian Star Wars comics. So this one was printed in 1979. I think it's number 2 is the one that most people want, because it's like a redrawn version of the classic Star Wars 1 Marvel cover. But this one would be interesting to see what happens with the Star Wars collector, that purchases stuff on Heritage, to see what they're willing to spend. These are cool because they basically just took the Star Wars comics from Marvel, and they had their artist redraw every single panel on the interior. So all the panels, all the interior art is different than the Marvel comics, but it's the same stuff. So it's cool. It's cool to like sit down and look at these right next to like the American version, and just kind of look at the variations that they did. This is a Dutch Fantastic Four number 50. This is like the first solo Silver Surfer cover, I think. Kind of that weird brown color. But just a classic Silver Surfer cover, and part of that initial Galactus first Silver Surfer, their first appearance run. So we've got a Special Strange 24, which is the French Giant Size X-Men 1. Cool book. It's never really been that hard to find. Maybe hard to find in higher grade, but 6.5, that would be, I'd say, like a mid-grade copy. Just kind of a cool. The art is, it's a good-looking cover. It's like a painted cover. Square-bound book, and this is kind of like. I'd say this is kind of more like, I wouldn't call it beginners, but like, not. It's just not a hard book to find. If you wanted, this is a good book to hunt for. If you're just starting in foreign comics, you don't want to spend a lot of money. you could go out on the internet right now and find this book for $10-$20 probably. Yeah, you'd have to get it shipped from France. You'd have to translate from English to France, figure out shipping, figure out payment. But that's why I tell people, don't just buy from resellers. Try and get your feet wet and try and source some of these books yourselves. So yeah, all said and done, you could probably get this book for $30-$40 and a decent copy shipped from France to you in the U.S. Or you could go the easier route, go on American eBay and buy one probably for about $100 or around $80 to $100. Whatever floats your boat, that's fine. But if you do want to start sourcing books, France, Germany, Italy, those are the countries you want to start with. Spain, those are the easy ones. They have either foreign eBays or their own auction sites that is pretty easy to navigate. So here's another duplicate. So there was that 8.0 that I talked about in the last video. So this is the CBCS version, a 5.5 for sale as well. All right, let's see what's on the next page. The 8.0 Spider-Man 101 from Germany. Die Spiny. 8.0. It's good grade. Most of these German books you can find, if you really wanted to. There are, quite a few like 9.0s, and they do press really well. But we'll see. Morbius is kind of the movie kind of flopped pretty bad, so I'm not sure. That probably has an effect on the American comic value. I don't know if that'll affect the foreign version as well. So this is X-Men 94 Greek. Greek books are some of my favorite. They're just the text on them, and the language just looks really cool. And 7.5 is probably a pretty decent grade for a Greek book. They tend to be pretty beat up. They seem like they are just kind of like sitting on a bookshelf somewhere, or being sold in bookstores. I'm not too sure what the comic market looks like in Greece, but I don't. It seems like majority of them are pretty well used. Another classic Spider-Man villain, first appearance from Brazil. This one's 7.0, so it's a high grade copy. Mary Marvel Brazilian edition, pretty beautiful cover. 4.0, it's probably pretty high grade for a book from 1955 from Brazil. I'm not much into the Marvel family. I don't really know too much about it, but it's just a good looking cover. First appearance of Dr. Octopus from Brazil. Another Brazilian Submariner cover, 2.0 restored. So this one looks like it's in a magazine-sized holder. So I think most of these old Brazilian books are pretty large. So 7.5 Doctor Strange. Was it Doctor Strange 169? But this is Doctor Strange 1, or Doctor Centella 1 for Mexico. So this is like their first standalone Doctor Strange issue. Pretty cover. I've actually got one of these. I think mine is 7.0, maybe a 6.5. I can't remember. But it's not like a book that I'm really probably gonna. I'm not really planning on keeping it forever. It's gonna be probably one that I will sell. So I'm pretty interested to see what this one goes for. If it goes for a decent price, if they do another Heritage auction, that'd probably be one of my books that's heading to them. Hebrew Hulk from Israel. These Hebrew editions, Israeli editions, are one of my favorites. They're from the 80s. They're printed in reverse, so they open the spines on the right side. But they're really cool books. This one's 5.0, which is decent grade. But these are just extremely hard to find. Most of the Israeli collectors don't want to sell their books to Americans or anyone outside of Israel. So these are just really tough to get. So this is issue number 3 from them. And the Hulk, there is an Israeli Incredible Hulk 1, and that's one of my favorite books. It's a just absolutely beautiful cover with the the Hebrew on the cover and the classic Hulk 1 cover combined. All right, maybe go through a couple more here. First appearance of Black Panther, Fantastic Four 452 from Germany, kind of a mid-grade copy, 6.0 CGC. Another Brazilian. This is a Hawkman cover, Brazilian edition. This one's from 1943. So these Brazilian editions are kind of all over the place. Some early 40s, 50s. They're all different ages on them. That's pretty interesting. So this is actually a Fantastic Four number 5, the first appearance of Dr. Doom. The Spanish edition. So it's like a little digest-sized book, but it's real thick. But it has the first appearance of Dr. Doom, and they kind of redrew the color. Normally the art was done by either one of 2 artists, either Lopez Espy or Enrich Torres. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna go ahead. This will be probably the last one I look at, so I'm gonna click on it and see. Yeah. So this was an Enrich cover because you can see his signature right there. So kind of a cool interpretation of the classic Fantastic Four 5 cover. Dr. Doom. It'll be interesting to see what this sells for. And these aren't terribly hard to find, but it's just a cool book. And the Spanish redrawn covers and redone art is just kind of a fun little novelty. And there seems to be a pretty decent amount of Spanish comic keys out there. So it'll be interesting to see what this one does at auction. All right, well, I got to get back to work, so I will leave it at that, and we'll see. Maybe I'll make another video as the auction gets closer to ending. All right, have a good night. Bye.